Also, for those who asked, I did not formally adopt my stepdaughter. Her mother's parental rights were never terminated, despite the abandonment. Legally, her mom is still her mother. We discussed the idea of me adopting her when she was around 12, but she was adamantly against it, and we didn't want to force the issue and cause more drama. In my husband's will, however, he named me as her guardian until she turns 18. So, I am, in fact, legally responsible for her right now. He also left virtually everything he personally owned to me, which honestly wasn't much beyond some personal belongings and a small life insurance policy. There was no dedicated college fund, no separate account, just vague words and expectations now inked forever in a letter that shattered me. She turns 18 in less than 6 months. That date has been seared into my mind ever since I read that letter. I keep counting the days, not with excitement or hope, but with a numb anticipation of someone nearing the end of a prison sentence. I hate that it feels like that. But how else can I describe being trapped in a house with someone who detests me, while grieving the loss of a man I now realize I never really knew? The silence in this house is so loud. We barely speak. Sometimes I hear her in her room, laughing with her friends on FaceTime or blasting music. Other times, I catch her watching old videos of her dad and sobbing. I don't know which version of her hurts me more, the angry, vengeful teenager who sneers at me, or the vulnerable girl mourning her father. I used to want to reach out. I used to hope I could bridge the gap between us. Now, I just want to survive each day until I'm no longer legally tied to her. I've started looking at my finances more closely. I crunched the numbers. Her dream school? The one her father promised me we'd figure out together? It would cost close to $60,000 a year when you factor in tuition, housing, books, and living expenses. That's nearly a quarter of my entire inheritance from my father, gone in 4 years. I could technically afford it. But the idea of spending that much for someone who not only hates me, but whose father viewed me as little more than an open wallet, is nauseating. The betrayal isn't just emotional. It's financial. It's existential. I've thought about just telling her, straight up, that I won't be paying for college. That once she turns 18, she's on her own. But every time I get close to saying it, I pause. Not because I'm uncertain, but because I know the backlash will be volcanic. She'll scream. Maybe she'll break things. Maybe she'll even tell people I'm cool and heartless. And maybe part of me is scared that she'd be right. Because despite everything, a very small, battered part of me still wonders if cutting her off is the right thing to do. Not legally. Legally, I'm in the clear. Morally, though, that's the question that keeps me up at night. This girl lost her mother to abandonment and her father to cancer. Now, she's about to lose the only remaining adult figure in her life, me. And even if I was never her real mom, even if I was just a woman who paid the bills and made the meals and got left behind to pick up the pieces, isn't that worth something? But I can't forget what that letter said. And more than that, I can't forget how she's treated me. I can't forget the way she looked me in the eye and said, "You should have died instead of him." The words echo through my head like a curse. That wasn't grief talking. That was hate. Pure, distilled hate. And I'm supposed to pour tens of thousands of dollars into someone who wishes I were dead? No, I can't. So I've made my decision. When she turns 18, I will no longer be her guardian. I will no longer be responsible for her well-being, her meals, her laundry, or her tuition. I will help her apply for FAFSA. I'll give her access to whatever limited financial documents she might need to apply for aid or loans. But beyond that, I'm done. She can work. She can find scholarships. She can take out loans like millions of others do. She can even reach out to her long-lost mother if she wants to. Maybe the woman who abandoned her will magically return when she hears there's no money coming from me. I don't expect a thank you. I don't expect understanding or closure. But I will no longer be used. I will no longer play the role of a stand-in parent and ATM machine for a family that never truly wanted me in the first place. This isn't revenge. This is survival. And finally, after years of walking on eggshells in my own home, I am choosing myself. When my husband and I first discussed the possibility of me adopting his daughter, she was about 12. She made it clear she didn't want that. We respected her wishes, not wanting to escalate tensions or force a bond that wasn't mutual. I continued to raise her, support her, and love her, quietly hoping that with time, she'd come around. In his will, my husband named me her legal guardian until she turns 18. That time is now drawing near. While I technically have authority over her now, my ability to reach her emotionally has long since vanished. My husband left behind very little, a few personal belongings and a modest life insurance policy. No college fund, no saving for her future. Everything that kept his family afloat, our home, the bills, school expenses, has always come from my income and savings. And now, I'm the only one left to carry that burden. After my husband's passing, I found a letter he had written to his daughter. In it, he confessed something that gutted me. He never loved me. He only married me for financial stability and hoped I continue to provide for his daughter, including college. Reading that letter shattered me. Despite everything, I continued to care for her, ensuring she had a roof over her head, warm meals, internet access, and the basic comforts of life. We didn't speak much. The air in the house was thick with silence and tension. She stayed in her room or out with friends. We passed each other like shadows. Then came the conversation I'd been dreading. She approached me, polite and composed, to discuss college, her dream school, an expensive out-of-state university. She asked me to fill out financial aid forms and, with a casual tone, hinted that since I had money, she'd likely not qualify for much assistance. She expected me to pay. All of it. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I told her, gently, that her dream school was likely out of reach financially. I said, your father didn't save anything for your education. Scholarships or more affordable options may be necessary. That's when it all exploded. She accused me of lying, of sabotaging her future out of spite. She screamed, you have money. You just don't want me to be happy. She claimed I was breaking a promise to her father, that I was doing this out of revenge. And in that moment, something in me snapped. I told her I knew about the letter, how her father had admitted he never loved me. Her eyes widened. Then she screamed that I had no right to read it, accused me of snooping, of using it as an excuse to betray her. The rage that followed was unlike anything I've ever seen. She hurled insults, claiming she never needed me, that I ruined her life. And then she said it, the words I'll never forget. If you had died instead of Dad, everything would be perfect. She said that if I were gone, her father would have had everything and she'd be on her way to that dream school. As if I were just an obstacle between her and happiness. As if my only value had been financial. She destroyed my laptop, flipped the dining table, screamed until her voice cracked. I was terrified. For the first time, I locked my bedroom door that night. I wasn't sure if I was overreacting or finally seeing things clearly. The next morning, I laid it out plainly. I told her I would continue to provide shelter, food, and essentials until her 18th birthday. But after that, nothing. No college money. No more support. She just stared at me with loathing and said, fine, I never needed you anyway. That was the breaking point. I installed security cameras in the house, for both our safety. She noticed but said nothing. I also reached out to my parents and told them everything. My mother insisted on coming to stay with me. She arrived within days. My stepdaughter barely leaves her room now. I met with a lawyer. I've updated my will. My stepdaughter has been removed entirely. Everything I own will go to the family who has stood by me. I've closed any joint accounts and ensured she has no access to my finances. I'm not taking any more chances. As for her biological mother, she's long gone, off the grid for over a decade. When my stepdaughter turns 18, there will be no family left to turn to. She will be on her own. It's heartbreaking, but it's also reality. I'll be changing the locks once she moves out, packing up anything she leaves behind, and mailing it to wherever she ends up. I want a clean break. I deserve one. Emotionally, this has been the hardest chapter of my life. The grief, the betrayal, not just from my husband, but from the girl I once tried to love as my own. I've mourned the loss of both relationships. And now, I'm finally starting to let go. I've returned to work. I've started therapy. I'm leaning on my mother and my family. I'm rebuilding. To anyone who's followed along or offered advice, thank you. There's no happy ending here, just resolution. I know now that I did my best. I gave my heart, my home, my money, and in the end, I had to save myself. Sometimes that's the only closure you get, but it's enough.